Mam cha yoga vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Muam Karoti Vachalam, Pankam Nandeti, Vetkapad, Shri Chaitanya Mishra. Hare Krishna. So here we see Arjuna has asked many questions and Krishna is answering Arjuna's question where he says, what is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? So Krishna is replying in this verse to Arjuna that one who engages in full devotion service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So we'll understand in this a little bit about the modes of material nature with some examples, and then the solution also for this. So the material world, as Srila Prabhupada always mentions, is composed of three modes of material nature. All our activities, our thoughts, actions, everything comes under these three modes of material nature. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example of 3 into 3 is equal to 9, 9 into 9 is equal to 81, and so forth. It goes on. And generally, we think that we can control everything, this material nature, but rather we become, in the process of trying to control the material nature, we become controlled by the material nature. One example is that there is a popular saying in Gujarat, I'll translate it into English, which says that a person who drinks liquor, actually he does not drink liquor, but the drink drinks him. Hence he gets so addicted that he cannot live without a drink. So that means that instead of he trying to maintain some control on his intoxication habits, he becomes controlled by the intoxication. That is the meaning of that. Another very nice example that is given is that in a river, there is a strong current. So in that current, if we put a small stick, that stick will not flow against the current, but rather it will flow along with the current only. Similarly, the modes of material nature are very, very powerful. As the Lord himself says in Bhagavad-gītā, Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratya. But for one who can render devotional service, he can easily, by surrender to the Supreme Lord, he can overcome these three modes of material nature. Some examples are like we see many times a person taking his dog for a walk in the street. Generally, the master has to lead the dog, but we see that generally the dog pulls the master around. So this is one example of how the modes of material nature pull the living beings even without the human beings being aware of it. These three modes of material nature are goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, an ignorant person in the mode of ignorance, he generally takes to addiction to intoxication and eating meat and etc. A passionate man might have, for example, many types of suits, and suit means wearing a suit. So he might be thinking that one day I will wear this, one day I will wear that, one day I will wear this type of watch, one day I will wear that type of watch. There are very passionate people like that. Or many may have many cars. These are also passionate desires. But the ultimate goal of having a vehicle is to reach a destination, travel, use the car to reach a destination. But someone might be having a passion to have many cars to show them off, others off. Even a person in goodness, it is said that it is not good as long as one is in the material world, the reason is that it makes a person proud. For example, somebody gives in charity to hospital or schools, etc. Over a period of time, he starts feeling that the hospital or the school is running because of his charity. That makes him a little bit proud. So materialists normally they engage in these types of activities in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. But all of the activities, the end result is misery only, nothing else. Uh, there are some examples like people go to laughing clubs. And there are clubs like these where you go and artificially laugh yourself, and they say that it brings you some happiness. But even that doesn't bring happiness over a long time, uh, because once or twice or thrice one might go and artificially laugh it out, but laughter also has to come naturally. The point is that all material activities, irrespective of whatever it is, they all bring misery at the end. But by nature, we are called Anandamaya Abhyasat. That means we seek pleasure. And because we are not able to know where we get that pleasure or pleasure, we try to seek happiness in material activities which cannot give the real pleasure that is required by the soul. So this verse says that one should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of material nature. Now, artificially, we cannot remain without being disturbed, but rather transfer these activities to the activities of Krishna consciousness, by which, over a period of time, we can transcend the three modes of material nature. Now, for example, somebody might be interested in a particular type of a music. Now, material music, if you hear three times, 10 times, 20 times, then over a period of time, we get fed up. We don't want to hear about that. But the same music, if one develops a taste for hearing Krishna Katha, Kirtan, so many tunes are there, and so forth, this is one way of transferring one's activities to Krishna conscious activities. That is the original constitution position. So these activities, by performing these activities, one transcends the modes of material nature, because Krishna conscious activities are transcendental to the three modes of material nature. They are even transcendental to the mode of goodness. Now, many times a person born in a Brahmana family might think that I'm a Brahmana, so I'm in the situation in the mode of goodness. But what happens is that he may be working in an IT company by which he develops a mode of passion. He may be thinking that I'm a Brahmana in a mode of goodness, but actually he's not even a Brahmana, because just by taking birth in a Brahmana, one doesn't become a Brahmana. But over a period of time, working in the company like IT, which is basically in the mode of passion, he may develop a taste for many other activities in the same field itself. The point is that, for example, someone might think that he wants to develop his career in a particular research area, and so on. All these things are basically in the mode of passion, and they keep the person bound in this material world. Sometimes maybe people might be very, very well off, but they might be addicted to some sports like cricket, etc. And if you travel in a train or a bus, you will see that many people don't have any, hardly you will find anybody discussing about religion, but they might discuss about cricket or some other sports and so forth. So as long as one remains, performs activities in these three modes of material nature, he has to remain in this material world and continue to go through the cycle of birth and death. Now, the living entity, the soul as such, is a small spark. And the example is that when we see a fire, there may be so many sparks, but as soon as the spark separates from the original fire, it vanishes. We can't see the spark, but the fire might remain. So the point is that as long as the spirit soul, which is like a spark, is associated with the supreme fire, Lord, in the form of fire, we have that illumination in us. But the moment we separate ourselves from the Lord, then what happens is that we lose that identity as a spark. So one should transcend these three modes of material nature and come to the platform of goodness from which one can transcend by performing worship in the mode of goodness, transcendental situation. So even in the question of worship, the people have different types of worships. For example, someone might worship Lord Shiva or Durga, and but as per this verse, except Vishnu, all other forms, Vishnu and his expansions, all other forms of worship are in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. And all generally people might worship the demigods with some expectation. If you have expectation even from a demigod, it's not the right type of worship. So if, as per this verse, one should worship Lord Krishna or any of his expansions like Lord Rama or Narasimhadeva, etc. Other than that, there is no worshipable object in this material world. Or, people might worship the demigods, but then their worship is also, whatever benedictions one might get from these demigods are also temporary in nature, and one might not really get benefited out of that. So there are many examples where people worship ghosts and spirits, that is in the mode of ignorance. And by doing such worship, one lands himself into the mode of ignorance itself. Uh, there is an example in Shastras where there was a demon in the name of Vrikasura. He wanted to get a benediction from Lord Shiva that by just touching whoever he touches uh, someone's head with his hand, that person's head gets chopped off. And Lord Shiva was very compassionate, being his disciple, gave him that benediction also. But at some point of time, it is said that he wanted to kill Lord Shiva himself by becoming more powerful than Lord Shiva. That is what is that mentality of a demoniac mentality, which is in the mode of ignorance. But then Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, one time realized this, and he said, before you try it on Lord Shiva, actually you should try it out to see whether it actually works or not. So he put his hand on his head, and finally his head fell down. This is how demoniac people worship for various desires, demoniac desires. It is said that there are even animals in different modes of material nature. For example, a cow is in the mode of goodness, tiger is in the mode of passion, and a snake is in the mode of ignorance. There are people who worshipped many times. There are some examples in Calcutta which is given that people who used to worship Hitler so that they can derive some power. Sometime back, I saw an article where it said that somebody made a idol form of an actor or actress. So these types of worship are very, very degrading. But the only form of worship, that is Krishna or worshipping any of his expansions. The same worship, one who might be worshipping a demigod for a material benediction, it can be transferred to a demigod as a Krishna conscious activity by seeking from a demigod that please give me your mercy so that I can worship Krishna. When such a person worships even a demigod with such mentality, even the demigod gives them a blessing. So this is the benefit of worshipping Krishna and his expansions. Uh, the Lord himself says in Bhagavad-gītā 7:23, Antavat tu phalam tesham tat bhavati alpamedasham devan deva yajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mam api. The translation says, men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So those who worship demigods, they go to the planet of the demigods. Those who worship lower species of life, like those who worship a form of Hitler, may become more passionate in the next life. And those who worship insignificant personalities like uh, ghosts and spirits, they will become a ghost and spirit only. This is what the Lord explains in Bhagavad-gītā also. But worship of Vishnu is beyond these three modes of nature. And only by worshipping Lord Krishna or any of his expansions, one can get free from the three modes of material nature. That's what this uh, sloka says also. It says, one who engages in full devotion service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Now, Brahman here means spirit. There is another meaning for Brahman also, that realization of the Lord is in three stages: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman stage of realization, many people worship the Lord in that Brahman as impersonal. That impersonal form is worship of the Lord in the form of a light. Many people have that worship. They say that God has no form, so worship the form as a light. That is the lowest stage of worship of Lord also, and it is not the right form of worship of the Lord also, because by worshipping Brahman, one might enter the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, which covers the Lord's body. So by doing that, there is one might enter that place into the light or whatever they say, but one does not have any activity there. Our constitutional position of the soul is to engage in devotional service to Krishna. So if one enters Brahman and there is no activity, he feels suffocated just by one locks himself in a room and there is no way to get out. Then finally he gets fed up. So when there is no activity, then again he falls down to the material world. Some may worship the Lord as Paramatma, but the process of worshipping Paramatma is very, very complicated, like yoga, etc., which was prevalent in the Satya Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, one cannot meditate on that four-handed form of the Lord in the heart. And that form of yoga also does not exist. Real yoga is worshipping the full form of the Lord, that is connecting to the Lord, that is Bhagavan. This Bhagavan worship is the complete worship of Krishna also. So one can worship Krishna, one can worship Rama, one can worship Nrsimhadev, but one can derive the love of Godhead only by worship of Krishna. But what is the process? Prahlad Maharaj says in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 9 processes of devotion service, and this is what is called Bhakti Yoga. Now, the Lord is transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. The soul within our body is also a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, that is the Lord. So, the soul has got the same quality as the Super Soul itself, but in terms of quantity, that soul is a small spark. So that when the spark is separated, the body also feels that misery. So we can utilize our material body by transferring all our activities to Krishna, by utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. That is why Krishna conscious activities is called Bhakti Yoga. That means always acting for Krishna or his plenary expansions. And one who is engaged in any of the forms of worship of Krishna is considered to be transcendentally situated, even if he is in the material world. So, when somebody asked Srila Prabhupada said that in this material world, we have to get the best bargain of a bad situation. Material world means misery only, because material world ends in misery only, and it is always a misery. So the best bargain we do out of that is to transfer all our activities to Krishna by these 9 processes, which Prahlad Maharaj says is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivaya, and so forth. And another point is that one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. This is a very important point. When we say unfailing in all our circumstances, we should be engaged in devotional service, uninterrupted and unmotivated. I'll come to this point. Now, when we say uninterrupted, question comes, if we have to perform devotional service uninterrupted, should we leave all our activities? And how can we sustain ourselves? Example is that Arjuna himself was a Kshatriya, and a Kshatriya cannot live without fighting. So finally, Arjuna's activities was also asked by Krishna to dovetail his fighting as a service to Krishna. So if Arjuna can utilize his service of fighting in the service of Krishna, we can utilize all our activities and dovetail them in the service of Krishna. For example, if a student is studying, just by thinking that I am studying to engage my the knowledge that I get in the service of Krishna, that itself is Krishna conscious activities. We see many times small children also are very intelligent and they preach Krishna consciousness and they have a lot of knowledge. This is because they have performed this devotional service in the previous birth. So if one has that understanding, the child's activity also becomes Krishna conscious. Similarly, a person working in the office might think how I have to work for the whole day. But he starts his activity just by thinking of Krishna, that I'm today's doing this service as a service to Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And at the end of the day, he can offer the results to Krishna, by which that activity is dovetailed to Krishna. Otherwise, what happens is that somebody might glorify this person, who you have done a wonderful job today. So many people got benefited out of your activity. Then suddenly the man might get puffed up. But in the beginning, when he starts thinking that, yes, I'm going to do this for Krishna, and even if I've done something great in my office, that is due to the capacity given by Krishna, and I offer this result back to Krishna, that is Krishna conscious activity of dovetailing, by which one does not become puffed up. So it is said that one should not develop any attachment to anyone or anything in the process of one's activities. In the process of our activity, day-to-day activities, we develop a lot of attachment either to some object or to some service or to some personality. But by engaging everything in the service of Krishna, we dovetail all our activities to Krishna. We can always think that, yes, my family is given to me by Krishna to utilize them in Krishna conscious activities. That is Krishna consciousness. Whereas if somebody thinks this is my family, my wife, my children, and all those things, then one becomes attached to that personality. Similarly, we should not attach ourselves to any object or any service also. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad-gītā, Devi Sagunamai Mama Maya Toratya. I mean, it's very, very difficult, but one who surrenders by performing this devotion service, he becomes transcendental to the modes of material nature. So the Lord is transcendental. The soul within us is transcendental. And the process of connecting the soul to the super soul is what is called devotional service. That is what is called Bhakti Yoga. So by rendering this service, we are always connected to Krishna, and our activities become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So there is an individuality in us, and this individuality was always there. The individuality is there, and the individuality will always be there. That means the body might change. Tomorrow we might get another body, but as long as we are engaged in devotional service, the body also becomes transcendental, as long as we are not attached to this body. And if one is situated in that type of a transcendental position and always serving the Lord, then he becomes free and reaches the level of Brahman. That means he also reaches the stage of spiritual perspective. Now we are becoming attached to the body, but if we are able to dovetail all our bodily activities also in the service of Krishna, then we become Brahman, that is, we become spirit in nature, just like Krishna is spirit, which is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Similarly, we also attain a spiritual quality. So the example that Srila Prabhupada gives in this purport is that one might want to serve a great king. Now, to serve a great king, one must attain some qualification. That minimum qualification one should have to serve the king. Otherwise, one cannot serve a king. Similarly, to serve the Supreme Lord, one has to have some minimal qualifications to start serving the Lord. And that starts with the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam. And gradually, as one develops the taste for Shravanam and Kirtanam, then one automatically starts remembering. The third stage is Vishnu Smaranam. The more we engage in Shravanam and Kirtanam, the more the Vishnu Smaranam develops in us. Then we can dovetail all our activity in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada concludes by saying that one can attain the supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. So all our activities has to be situated on the platform of Brahman, that is spirit or spiritual. That means we become qualitatively one with Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his identity, but the individuality remains as it is, but rather we are able to transcend the three modes of material nature. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. If you have any questions or any comments for a minute or two, I can take these questions. This worship in the mode of transcendence is also called Visuddha Sattva, that is pure goodness. So there is something called pure goodness which is above the goodness. That is what is called transcendental. So now I can take some questions. Anybody? Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, what happened when we worship both Krishna and demigods?
I quoted a verse. Now, the general example is given is that if you are able to water the root of a tree, that is enough. You cannot pour water in all the trunks and branches. So, if you worship a demigod, you must worship a demigod in the mood that the demigod is also a part and parcel of Krishna. If you worship both of them with understanding that demigod is also a god, that is a wrong form of worship. So you cannot worship, you can worship a demigod as just like living entities like us. They are all servants of the Lord. If you ask the demigod that please give me a mercy so that I can serve Krishna, that demigod will be very, very happy. In that case, you are not bound by a fruitive activity.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question. Can you explain that example of 3 multiplied by 3 in a 27 multiplied by 381? I didn't understand that actually. How does
Okay. Prabhupada always gives this example when he quotes about these modes of material nature. So goodness, passion, and ignorance, there are 3 ingredients. The material world is composed of these 3. So everybody is not situated in one mode, either in goodness or maybe in passion or something in ignorance. So always, even a person in the mode of goodness may develop some sort of a passion for something. Like I mentioned, a person may be born in a Brahmin family, may be situated in the mode of goodness, but he might develop a taste for cricket, which is the mode of passion. So the goodness, passion, and ignorance are not always 100%. If a person is in goodness, he's not always in goodness. So there is a mixture of passion and ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example that this 3 into 3 becomes 9. Again, this 9 into 9 becomes 81, and the 81 into. So the modes of nature are very, very complicated. That is the purpose of this example. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper by dragging a person into the modes of nature.
Is it the combinations, Prabhu? Is it like combinations of these modes of mental nature? Is it like that?
Yes, 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 Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
This influence of this material nature and how much we are involved and how much we have involved ourselves in the material nature, is
Yes.
it what we have developed over a period of births?
Yes, yes. It's not one
How
birth.
deeply we have involved ourselves is totally depends on our past karmas, right, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes. Past activities in all the previous births. Then somehow we have come into Krishna consciousness, which is transcendental. So in this birth, if we do this devotional service of Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc., till you complete 100%, the Lord facilitates a person to complete it. So if you are able to complete in this birth itself, it is nothing better than that. But if you are not able to complete next birth, you will become a great devotee, whereby you can complete this devotion service.
What is the meaning of completion, Prabhuji? Devotional service is a continuous process. There's nothing like continue, because soul is eternal. So devotional service has to be eternal. There is nothing like complete. It is an ongoing process.
When I said complete, you must be totally engaged in devotional service only.
Oh, meaning like what Gurujis and Maharaj are doing now.
Yes, yes. Fully engaged. You don't have to become a guru or of course,
Ah, correct,
Mahaprabhu
correct.
wanted everyone to be a guru, those who are born in India, because the Western countries, people are more to passionate ignorance. But uh, one need not become a Maharaj and give up everything to do devotion service. Like I mentioned, even if one is able to maintain this life itself in this material world by doubting every activity into Krishna consciousness, that can become 100%.
So well explained, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? So can I take the class as closed, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, thank you for your class, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees.
Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna.
Class teach ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.